So we're back here with Ed again, and I was wondering because you know exactly how our neighborhood is in DC, because you've been to our offices, right? Mm-hmm. It's a pretty funky place. But could you explain to me exactly how you view diversity in your neighborhood in Atlanta?
First of all, this is my second neighborhood in Atlanta.
Okay.
When we initially moved here, we lived in the Buckhead area of Atlanta, and which is still is a very, very nice place. Anyone who comes to Atlanta, the first place they want to go is the Lenox Mall, in the Buckhead area.
Sure.
Socioeconomically, probably a fairly, if I had to sort of guess, would probably of Atlanta areas would probably rank in terms of income, all of that, and attraction, probably in the top 20-25% of income earners in that area. A lot of condos for sale there. It's a really, really good upper socioeconomic neighborhood. And we enjoyed our time. They had great neighbors. But when we moved to Atlanta, we didn't know where we wanted to live. And for those that haven't really been to Atlanta, one thing I've come to really enjoy about Atlanta, that I enjoy about Washington, D.C., where I grew up, is that Atlanta is a city made up of neighborhoods. Yes. And not every city is that way.
Very true.
And I love neighborhoods because I think that's what really good neighborhoods bring different people together. And so that's what Atlanta is. So you can go to East Atlanta. There's where you are right now. There is a different feel than West Atlanta.
Yes.
Or you could go to Midtown, where Georgia Tech, Coca-Cola, the downtown area is. Or you can go uptown to Buckhead. So really different feels, different pockets of Atlanta give you a different feel. When we were in Buckhead, one thing I loved the convenience, great neighbors, good people, but they were a lot like me. You know,
earning, is that a bad thing?
Not a bad thing, but all good. You know, earning good salaries, very professional, but not a lot of diversity. Not what I consider a really diverse neighborhood in terms of from a culture and a socioeconomic perspective. So we, after 5 years, we began looking around Atlanta and found East Atlanta. My son, in fact our sons, we had one that went to Clark Atlanta University, another that went to Morehouse, so we were very familiar with the West End. And we were not as familiar with East Atlanta. And East Atlanta had a sort of a dubious, had a very, very historic past, and a dubious presence probably about 10 years ago here. The past was the East Atlanta is built around East Atlanta Golf Course, which is Bobby Jones's golf course, and one of the top 10 golf courses in the world.
Wow.
And people in Atlanta really didn't know that. But the golf course, as well as the neighborhood around the golf course, had had some challenges. And a developer, in fact, Mr. Cousins, who actually is a huge developer of apartments here in Atlanta, as well as other commercial ventures, took a strong interest in bringing back the golf course. And he did a great job. He not only brought back the golf course, built a charter school here, opened up a public golf course, which gave more than just those people who were members of the East Lake Golf Club an opportunity to participate in golf here. So the Charlie Yates Golf Course now is a public golf course where anybody can play, which I think is great. But in doing that, he also began a process of revitalizing the neighborhood. And this is a neighborhood where probably somewhere in the 70-75% of the community here are African American who have been here forever. And the new people who moved in, myself and others, I'm not so young, but many young professionals, young urban professionals with children, which I think is great. My wife and I moved over here but the diversity of people here. It's a real community here. From the people who've been here for years, who we interact with and love. Decatur, which has been voted for the last 10 years one of the best neighborhoods in Atlanta because of its diversity. You all are going to be going to Austin.
Yes.
Okay, and we spent about a year and a half in Austin. Love the city. Well, we found out one of the reasons we love Austin is because it reminded us so much of Decatur.
Wow, interesting. We'll have to compare.
A lot of small nice. So it's very, very nice.
Okay.
Cool.
So that's what brought me here. That's what I enjoy about the neighborhood. And then a little later on, I'll tell you a little bit about some of the changes I've seen here in Atlanta.
Okay.